Secondary break. It's game day again. We're back, baby. I'm Graham Bunn, former D1 point guard. Played a little bit overseas. Diehard Carolina Tar Heel fan. Got my brother, my two guard, my partner in crime, Zach Talitsky, UNC alum, all around amazing guy, and my sounding board for all things Carolina Tar Heel men's basketball. If you're new to the show, welcome. We're a recap show, basically at its core, and like and subscribe. And powers that be are telling me not to make that a toss away. If you guys enjoy it at all, or you want to keep up to speed on what's going on with Carolina basketball, we are in the championship. It's a great time to join the team, join the family. Here's the place to be, and we would love to have you. But again, just two guys enjoying this nice run. It's championship Saturday. And luckily, we got this show and another show to do guaranteed. And hopefully next show tomorrow will be as happy as this one is. How you feeling? Were you ever worried? Carolina takes down Pittsburgh 72-65 to advance to what I think is, and don't quote me on this, but I think I heard this stat earlier, we are now the front runner and the leader for all-time appearances in the ACC Championship game of any team in the conference. We don't have the most titles, but hopefully we can inch our way closer to the most titles tomorrow. Go Heels.
Go Heels. Yeah, no, it was a great game. Really enjoyed it. For whatever reason, I enjoyed that game last night, almost as much as any game, I feel like, outside of the Duke wins.
Really?
And yeah, I don't know why. I just really appreciated the way that we played. I think they came out, clearly a team that's on the bubble. They have to know they're on the list of first four out. They know that if they win that game, most likely they're in. And so, and they've been playing really well. I think they finished the ACC after a 1-5 start with a 12-3 ending. Obviously played really well the day before against a very good Wake team. And, I feel like they gave us their best shot and their best game, and they went on that 13-0 run in the first half and took a lead. And, we never looked rattled. I thought that we played with poise, through that stretch. We're able to sort of hang in there, stay close in the first half, and then found another gear, in the second half, like I think really good championship caliber teams are able to do. And so, it played out pretty much how I expected. I thought it was going to be close the whole way, and it pretty much was. But just the way that we answered that challenge and how much this group of guys seems to want to win this championship, and that they're not satisfied with what they've accomplished already. Just as a fan, it's been a joy to watch, and hopefully we finish it off later today.
Yeah, definitely. And we are going to get into the NC State game real quick. One of the things that stood out for me, and I'd love to get maybe the two things, if you were to look at the box score, that were glaring. One of the things that I think doesn't show up in the box score is Blake Henson was 2 of 12. And again, he had a rough game early January when we played him as well. For the most part, I think Harrison was the primary defender. Sometimes the way you defend someone and forcing them into tough shots doesn't show up in the box score. So, when you look at Harrison Ingram's line, 6.6 rebounds, you're like, oh, well, he had a decent game. He had a great game. If you focus in on, he had a great game. If you focus in on the overall contribution. I'm here with one of my buddies. He's hanging out here. I was going to get him to jump on, but we were at the game. And one of the things that he kind of reiterated to me, which was nice, is kind of checking me, is I was getting a little frustrated with Cormac's shooting. Like, man, come on. Like, I just, at this stage of the game, I don't know if we can survive. And we did a 1-for-9 performance. But he drove home the point that, man, Cormac Ryan sits down in that chair and he gives you maximum effort on defense. He's a good defender. The beginning of the year, they were ISO and searching him out. And innately, that kind of tainted my brain of like, okay, is he not a good primary defender? He really played his tail off on defense. And so I loved the game that he had. I wish he would have shot better. And the one shot he did make, I joke about it all the time, was a wedge. Like, it should not have gone in. It wedged between the backboard and the rim, and it fell. And when you're on a championship run, you need those breaks. NC State gets a massive break, banks in the 3 to send it into overtime. So those plays happen. But I don't want to get down on him, and I want to celebrate him. And I wanted to check myself as a fan of like, some of these guys in the lines don't reflect it. We only have 2 guys in double figures. RJS 25, another monster performance, some massive threes. Baycott, which you and I talked about, I was like, look, they're light in the ass. We need to go through Baycott. He gets them in foul trouble. We get to the 1-and-1 early. But those are the only 2 players that cracked double figures. But I thought it was a complete team effort and a massive win.
Yeah, the defense that we played, I mean, what Ingram did to Blake Henson is unbelievable. I mean, you just can't say enough about that defensive effort. And yeah, Blake Henson's first team all ACC for a reason. And then, Leggett, who had scored 30 the night before, gets 6 on 2 for 7 shooting. So you got to give it to the guards for doing that. And then, Bub Carrington obviously went off, in the first half and had an incredible game. And then I thought Hubert made a great adjustment. And I think it may be the first game all year that Seth has played more minutes than Cadeau. And so I think it's great, to see a coach make in-game adjustments like that, go to a matchup that's working. Trimble played 24 minutes of incredible defense. He didn't pick up a single foul. So to play that kind of defense on Carrington, who I think is a pro. I think he is the real deal. And so across the board, to see that type of defensive effort and to be able to shut down or at least, slow 3, really, really good offensive players. We're going to need that. And the fact that we've got someone like Trimble, you can bring in off the bench and have that piece is it just speaks well to, I think, our options going forward. To see where this team has come from to where they've gotten on the defensive end, and both as a team and some of these individuals. I mean, earlier in the year, right, we were talking about, the Villanova guy going off for 30 and Dalton Connect going off for 30, who, by the way, is pretty good. He's done that to a lot of people. And we were talking about being worried of, like, do we have a perimeter stopper on this team? Like, do we, if the other team's got a really good perimeter scorer,
do we have a leaky?
Do we have a leaky? And now you look at a game like last night, and we have multiple options between Cormac, Harrison, Trimble, all slightly different defenders. Gives us, I think, a real chance to slow, and we're going to see those type of teams in the coming weeks. So just very, very impressed.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then to be in the arena, like, it's such a blessing. Carolina Nation shows up. It was so much fun. And it was
how loud did it get in there?
Loud.
Was it getting loud?
Really loud. Yeah, I was getting goosebumps, and like I got to give credit. I'm out here with one of my boys, Dre, and he started the Tar Heels chant in the game. I think it was the only one, but my boy started it, and it, like, the arena was erupting. It was so cool. Like, the hair on my arms was standing up. Like, it was just, I didn't think I was going to be very good. Not that I'm ever very good at this. I feel like I'm decent, but you get caught up in the emotion of the game. And so, analytically, you're not really paying attention to what makes difference and what makes strides. You go back and you look at the box score, and then you kind of remember, all right, yeah, we really made a difference there. But the defense was an easy thing to hang your hat on. Like, I thought Carolina did an amazing job of, one, withstanding that first initial barrage and then kind of climbing back in. But also, they weren't getting easy shots. They were making tough shots. They're a very talented team, but, like, as a fan and someone that played college basketball and has a little bit of some coaching experience in certain venues, you can live with guys making tough shots. You can't live with defensive breakdowns where guys are just shooting off the rack and have clear shots at the rim. And for the most part, Carolina was dialed in, and they made every possession matter and every defensive stop count. And it was great to see. And that's why we're playing on Championship Saturday against NC State tonight. A true Tobacco Road rivalry, going back 100-some years. Again, it's not the 2 shades of blue, but it is the same 8 miles apart. It's going to be rocking in that place today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's such a great matchup. If you grow up a Carolina fan, you know about all the great state games. And so, couldn't be happier that that's who we're playing. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, on the defensive end, we basically, and their first half to second half splits, they, from 2, they went from 43 to 33, and then from 3, they went from 38 to 28.
Yeah.
And honestly, it could have been lower. Like you said, like you have to give them a lot of credit for tough shot making, because I mean, it felt like every single shot that they were taking just about was contested, and we were making them uncomfortable and making them work for it. So the fact that we have that gear, coming out of halftime, they had the desire to lock in and play defense like that for 20 minutes. Was incredible.
Yeah. Again, Withers, 11 minutes, he breaks double figures. You mentioned it, Trimble, 24. Elliott didn't have his best game, but it's nice that the team is so well-rounded that you can survive a bad game from a starter. Some teams, you need everybody to play great to win these type of, semifinal games and playoff games. It's really cool to see the team be versatile enough to survive someone having an off day. And you and I talked about it, offensively, sometimes Harrison and Cormac, sometimes one is on, one is off. We really struggle when both are off, but I feel like the team picked up the slack. And again, Elliott is still a freshman learning. I think he'll bounce back. I think he's going to be big tonight, and I'm looking forward to what I think could be an ACC championship to add to the regular season title that we already have.
Yeah, Elliott, I didn't think he was playing poorly. He's 2 of 9, so wasn't shooting all that well. But I understand, why Hubert did what he did, and I think it was the right adjustment, and you have to give him credit. I think it shows some of the versatility of this team. You could argue that Elliott was the player of the game before against Florida State.
1,000%.
He was incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Incredible. And but then you could argue Seth in some ways was the player of the game yesterday, because if we hadn't been a slow Carrington down, I'm not sure we're able to get away with a win. I think you have to give player of the game to Mondo. I mean, what he did on both ends and the way he moved his feet. I mean, they had a very good offensive game plan. I thought they were able to frequently get us into some advantageous switches. And, Mondo, his ability to stay in front of the guards in the second half and contest and get blocks was incredible. And, his progression this year on the defensive end, and I think passing out of the double teams, we also have to give him, I think, a ton of credit. He only had 3 assists. It seemed like he had more. And of course, he had that incredible time late in the second half where, out of the double team, he throws diagonal to RJ. Seth back screens his guy, and then he hit that dagger 3. But I just thought both his passing and of course his ability to stay in front of guards on those switches was the difference in the game. So I thought Mondo deserved MVP for this one.
Yeah. Also, we mentioned it at the top of the show. I think we shot something like 19, maybe 20 free throws. I think they shot less than 10. And a lot of that has to do with Mondo just going through, just drawing fouls and fouls and fouls. Like, I think Federico had 2 before the first media timeout. Then Diaz Graham also has 2. I don't know what they finished with, but it seemed like they were throwing multiple guys at Mondo, and he just kept getting them in foul trouble. So the quicker, and as well as we shoot free throws for the most part, there have been a few games where we did it. For the most part, when we get to the free throw line early like that, I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on, because you got RJ and Cormac, they're shooting 90. Armando's done an incredible job of making himself a very viable option at the free throw line. And I just thought that was an underrated part of the game, of getting to the line and getting easy points against a team that is incredibly physical and made the offensive end, a lot of work for us. And so getting those possessions where it's like, oh, we get an over the back call. Well, they're already in double bonus. We get 2 free throws. We don't even have to run an offensive set, and we're basically getting 2 points out of that. The effect Mondo had on that early in the game, because we don't get to the 1-and-1 if he doesn't get those fouls on those bigs early. So I thought that was also a big point of the game plan that might not show up in the box score.
And it could have worked even better if they would have called fouls.
Right. Yeah. There was like RJ, he does not get a lot of calls for the ACC Player of the Year. We don't want to talk about the refs, but like He's the
No,
ACC Player of the Year. It's like you protect that guy.
and I'm really not criticizing the rest because I like the way the game was called, especially the way we play this year, because I think we also want to play physically on defense. And so I'm fine with how they called it. I would rather see it on that end of the spectrum than them calling ticky-tack stuff in the semifinals of the ACC, particularly between these two teams who both want to play that style. And said, fine, let's go. Let's bang and let's do it. But to your point, we were still able, despite the fact that they were not really calling all that much, we were able to get to the line. I think we outscored them 14-6 from the line. We continue, I think, now to be pretty consistent in the ways that we're winning. So we outscore them by 8 at the free throw line. We rebound them by 10, which is basically right at our average, and they're a very good rebounding team. I think they're top 10 in the country in turning the ball over. They only had 5, but again, we limited ourselves to 9. So keeping it close in an area that's a strength for them. And then fast break points as well. I think we were probably, I don't have it in front of me, but let's see, 14-9. So another +5. When you've got those sort of consistent things, not to mention a top 5 national defense, which traveled clearly yesterday, particularly in the second half. Okay, like that type of consistency is what we're going to need to make a long run here in the tournament. And we won. This in some ways was a formula for when we've lost, which is Ingram, Cormac, and
that's the biggest silver lining.
Really score, right? Like all the games we've lost this year, basically that's been the formula, and the fact that happened against a good team that actually played pretty well, and we found a way to win anyway is really encouraging.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Well, it's a totally different topic for a totally different show, and hopefully you and I can get one in about Selection Sunday. We got a lot of help when it comes to bracketology yesterday with teams that were kind of chasing maybe, the 1 seed is up in the air, that 4th 1 seed in the West, which your boy lives in LA. Maybe we get you to fly out to LA. We do a show on the road, but
is that where the regional would be? Is LA?
Yeah. So,
so they could play here in Charlotte. They could play here in Charlotte in the first 2 rounds, and then assuming we're able to get through, then LA. That would be pretty cool.
No, I think they're going to be the 1 seed in the West.
Yeah, but regardless, now they changed up the tourney. So you get, if you're a 1 seed, you get to play in your closest first round game. So they would come
so that would be
to
Charlotte.
Yeah.
But Tennessee loses. I think it's like the first time since 1983 that the top 3 seeds in the SEC tournament are all out before the championship. Kentucky loses. Arizona loses to Oregon. So no matter what happens tonight, I think we're sitting pretty for the 1 seed, which is nice because everyone chasing us didn't make their conference championship game. But I'm being greedy here after the year that we went through last year. I want the second banner. How do you feel about tonight? What do you think are keys to the game?
I feel good about it. I mean, it's a game we should win. You never know. They again are going to be playing for their season and their tournament lives. And so, again, you're going to get a desperate, hungry team, not only trying to win an ACC championship, but get into the NCAA tournament. This will be their 5th game in 5 days. They had an overtime game, last night, and playing Virginia is just a grind anyway. And then it goes to overtime.
Grind. Half a game versus Virginia feels like a full game.
Oh yeah. And so, I think we obviously need to push the pace and the tempo. And we need to look to run. And I think you've got to do that with DJ Burns anyway. We really need to force him to change ends and move. And Jalen had, by the way, 6 points in 6 minutes last night, which is a huge 6 points. When he comes in, he needs to push and run. And obviously we've got to attack him and try to get him in foul trouble too. I feel like, they live through him in a lot of ways. In both of our matchups earlier in the year, Mondo was able to at least control him one-on-one. And when you can do that, Obviously, it sort of takes away those doubles, and then it makes it harder for their guards to get off. So I think how we play him, it's going to be tough, I think, for him to have the same energy and the same legs, coming off of what they had to get through last night. But we've got to use that to our advantage. And so I think that's going to be key. I think the beginning will be important. Like I think we don't want to give them hope and energy by letting them get out to a fast start. So I'd love to see us in the first 4 or 5 minutes come out and throw a haymaker.
Agreed. I mean, I'm like that with any team,
always,
but with a team
always.
that just with a team that just beat Duke and then beat Virginia on consecutive days, there's already we can beat anybody. So if they play well early,
sky high. Yeah,
got to be sky high. So I you want that in any game, but when you're playing 2 games in a week and then you're a week removed from those 2 wins, it's a little different than saying we just beat Duke, we just beat Virginia, we can beat Carolina. You know what I mean? So I think more so than ever, the first 5 minutes, first under 4 media timeout, if we can kind of have some separation, then you can knock some of that confidence down of like, oh, okay, well, every game's different, and not like, oh, all right, well, we're right back where we thought we would be,
Yeah, and this team, it seems like they're hungry, and they don't seem satisfied. So, I expect us to play very well today.
Yeah, I think they played themselves like right into the bubble conversation. I mean, those 2 wins I haven't looked at bracketology, but like you beat Duke and Virginia back to back. You're in the ACC championship game. Like, I don't know what some of the other mid-major tournaments have done. I haven't seen. I got a funny story to tell you, by the way, about being out here watching some of the tournaments and Bowling Green was playing. Met somebody that had some terrible things to say about Bowling Green. I was like, oh, easy, bro. I played at Bowling Green.
Are they still alive in the match?
I don't know. I don't know. They were playing Kent State last night. They were down 6 with in the second half, so they might have dropped. But I don't know what some of the bid stealers are. I just know that NC State at one point in time, pretty late in the ACC season, before they hit a rough patch, was definitely one of the teams that was considered. Now you get Wake dropping out. The ACC is down, but it's hard for me to believe that the ACC is only going to get 3 teams, maybe 4. I mean, would Pitt get in over NC State if they lose tonight?
I think they still probably are higher.
Yeah.
And I still see Clemson in. Yeah, I think Clemson's like still projected to be an 8 or 9 seed. I think that as of this morning, Virginia is still in the last 4 in, and maybe even the last team in. They are in a very dangerous spot still. If you believe the bracketology stuff, which seems to have gotten pretty dialed in. They seem to be pretty good at predicting it.
Yeah.
And there's some dangerous things that I think are still lingering out there. I'm not sure about all the mid-majors, but you've got Oregon playing Colorado. If Oregon wins, I think that's a bid steal. Colorado was also, I think, out. And so maybe they've jumped some teams. You've got Texas A&M that had a huge win. Yeah,
they're in. Texas A&M is in.
Mississippi State with a huge win. So there's a lot of those teams that were right on the bubble that are playing well. And it's just tough. I mean, in a way, I think it's a travesty if Pitt and Virginia aren't in. I don't really feel like teams that are top 4 in the ACC should be sweating it like this. I think the ACC is wildly underrated. I think all of these computer rankings have a major flaw. And that major flaw is they overweight what happens early in the season and the out of conference. And then that sort of locks you into this band with your numbers.
Yeah, of course.
And it doesn't weight heavily enough what happens over the course of the season and how a team improves and how they gel. And you have freshmen and you have transfers, and these coaches now, they have to make a team every year. This isn't like the old days where you've got 2-3 years to develop a team. Every year is unique. And I don't think that the computers, the algorithm is weighting like what Pitt has done and what these freshmen have evolved into, and the job that coaching staff has done to get this team to play how they're playing mean, you watched that team last night. That is 100% an NCAA tournament team. And if they don't get in,
definitely.
it's a travesty. And same with Virginia. To do what they did in the ACC is incredibly impressive. They got beat last night, bid on a fluke. I mean, if they'd have made their free throws, they could have totally secured it. But
with
if they don't
McNeely
get
at the line of all people, with
I know,
McNeely at the line of all people.
But I think we should be a 5-team league.
Well, we're not going to be, but we should be. We're not going to get 5, but we should be.
We should be.
And one of the things, just to echo what you said,
watch the games though. Like I hope the committee's watching these games.
Yeah. Well, you would like to think, but they took out the last 10 metric, and I'll never understand why they took out the last 10 metric. I thought that was a very important piece of making a tournament the best tournament possible with the best teams possible, because to echo your point, these teams go through, and I'll use Wake Forest as an example. We got to hang out with some Wake Forest fans here at the tournament the other day, and I didn't realize, or I didn't factor in that, their starting center was ineligible for half the season. So like they didn't have him. And so the sample size of that team with him, Efton Reed, is very different than the team in itself. And you're going to see that team complete in the tournament if they put the last 10 in. And so like some of these teams that dealt with injuries, that dealt with transfers, that have dealt with impact players like us. We have a starting point guard that's a freshman, and you see that a lot in some of these teams. They're completely different players at the end of the season. So that team is completely different.
Yeah, right. And Carrington and Lowe, which were the two high scorers, 24 and 17 last night for Pitt, are both freshmen. Right.
Yeah.
And, and so it takes time for those guys to settle in, and you look at what they're doing now. And again, that's a totally different team than it was when we played them earlier in the year. So yeah, I think taking out
so you think Pitt's in though? You think Pitt's in?
I don't think they're in, but I think they should be. And I think it's going. I think it's going to be a travesty that they get left out, because not only do I think they should be in, I think depending on what draw that they get, they could be a Sweet 16 team. I believe they're that good.
Agreed.
So
all right,
I hope they make it.
Yeah, we got the championship game tonight. Give me your prediction. Your prediction. Give me a score. What are you thinking? You're pretty close, by the way, on your score.
What? Yeah, what did I say? 5, and they won by.
Yeah, you said
7.
5.
Yeah,
they won by 7, but you said I think you said 70-65, and it was 72-65. So you were on it. I was
not bad.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You crushed it.
I think that we win by 10 tonight.
Okay.
And I think we're able to pull away. I think I expect them to play well, particularly in the first half. But I think given this is their 5th game in 5 days, it's going to be hard for them to sustain at that level, and that we're going to be able to do enough to pull away. So I'm going to say 85-75.
Okay. I got us by 7. I got to look at the line. I think Vegas has it at 9.5. So 10 is a good one. Vegas is usually not very wrong. But I got us by 8, and they scored 73 versus UVA. So I think they're going to do more than that against us. So I'll give them 83, and I think we score 90. I'll give us 90.
Okay. Yeah. So we're both saying pretty high scoring game.
Yeah. I think they're going to get out there and make some buckets. But I got us winning and raising another banner, which is great.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll have to do a post game and then a selection show
for sure. I would love to.
Yeah,
definitely after the brackets are out, maybe Sunday night.
Yeah,
sounds good. Well, go Heels!
Go Heels! Let's get it done. Let's raise another one.
That's right. Hey, you look good in that hat, by the way.
Hey,
that's a nice looking hat.
Yeah, break out the camo for championship Saturday.
I like it.